Now we're going to look at some letters that don't exactly fit in with the others, but they do have some similarities. So the first two that we're going to look at are Q and X. So both of these shapes start with the indirect oval that we've been making. And they have some elements that are similar to other letters. So the letter Q starts with this indirect oval, and then we're going to make another oval that has a shade on the right side. So similar to how you would finish the P or the B or the R, except instead of making it only 2 spaces high, we're going to make it the entire 3 spaces high. Okay, then we're going to finish with that small loop that we see in the letter D and in the letter L. And you can make the Q all in one motion. So again, we start with the indirect oval, come around with a large portion of the oval out to the left, and then make this loop to finish it. So this whole shape should be kind of like one big oval with a smaller oval in the middle. I guess it's not really in the middle, it's on the left side, but you can think of this as one big oval. And again, this is an indirect oval because normally you would make an oval with the shade on the left, but an indirect oval is the opposite direction and has a shade on the right, and it is not easy to make. So that's what you want to think for the right half of the Q. You want to think this shape. So if you were to just add the inner oval here, and then the loop on the side, you get the letter Q. Okay, so then the letter X is pretty similar. Starts the same way with the indirect oval and this larger indirect oval. But instead of finishing with that loop, we're going to finish with a terminal dot. And then we're going to make another large oval shape, except not have any shade. So this is the same as this large C shape, except we're not going to shade it at all. It's just a hairline. So start at the top, come down, loop up and around like the letter C, and then you can, if you want to come back in and add a little bit of a dot right here, you can do that. So again, we start with this indirect oval, come up around with this large C shape, or large oval shape. So this would be a Q if instead of making the dot you finished with a little loop like that. Okay, and then we finish with, I usually make this first line and then lift and come out and make the second part, come up and around, and then if you want you can add a little dot. Or if you don't want to add that dot, you can just start out a little bit farther, so let me show you. Right. It's letter X. Okay, now we have a couple letters left, and the next three are kind of similar to the letter V and W. I'll show you the letter N first. So if this is our baseline, we're going to start with the hairline upstroke, and all of these letters that we're about to make, just as a reminder, have this universal line of beauty shape, and you can start it with a dot. So the letter N starts with this shape, and then similar to the letter V, we're going to make a vertical shaded stroke, and then finish with this hairline universal line of beauty. So if we look at the letter V that we made earlier, the same thing where we have our vertical line and then end it with the hairline universal line of beauty. Vertical line. And then you don't have to end it with a dot if you don't want. M is pretty similar, starting with hairline upstroke, and then kind of like for the W, how you don't want to make it too wide, you want to keep it close together. Same thing with the M. So if the V is like the N, then the W is like the M, where we want to keep this vertical line maybe a little bit closer to 55 degrees, just so that the letter doesn't end up being too wide. Okay, then we're going to make another upstroke, and it kind of looks like this is getting a little too wide. I probably should have made that a little narrower. And then we're going to end with, let's see, what letter did we do this in? The letter H. We ended with this downstroke that is kind of like the lowercase l, where we just start with the hairline and then swell, come down, and back up. So this is like the second part of a ascending stem loop where you come around and down and back up. So again, start with a hairline upstroke. It's a little bit shaky there. Back up, and then this M is not turning out very well. I'm gonna try again. All right, we'll try again. Starting with a dot. Hairline upstroke. A swell that's close to vertical. Another hairline, and then this downstroke. So there's the letter M. Now we're going to write the letter A. The first letter of the alphabet is one of the last ones that we're learning. And the A also starts with this shape. So I'm going to draw a dot and then the hairline upstroke. And now I'm just going to draw a line that follows the 55-degree slant, starting with a hairline, and then it will swell, and by the time we get to the bottom will be a full shade. Okay. And then the last part of the A, we're kind of similar to the horizontal oval that we use to start the letter C and L. So similar to that shape, but smaller. And you can continue through. So again, with this hairline right now, I'm following the 55-degree slant in a straight line and then curving back to the right. Coming down, and then making a horizontal oval. Sometimes it ends up being a little more upright, somewhere between horizontal and upright. Following the 55 degrees, so again we're getting this triangle shape here and here. Coming down, this A is looking a little narrow. And then for this horizontal oval, you can start somewhere near the header line. You can start above it if you want, but I tend to start a little bit below or at a line and then come out and to the left, make a little bit of shade, and then come back up. Okay, now we have covered 24 letters, which means we only have 2 left, and those are I and J. Okay, I is pretty simple. It's basically just a universal line of beauty, which we have made many times. And then we're gonna come out to the left and make a shade. So this is like a normal oval, basically. So a normal oval has the shade on the left, except at the top we're gonna come out to the left first and then making this oval shape. So I like to start at the top, or sometimes even a little bit above, and then come out and to the left and then make this oval shape. You can either make it by going through or draw the left side and then the right side so that that has a little bit of shade. You can also, if you want, at the top, you can extend this out and then make a loop at the top. Alright, that's I. And then J is very similar, except it's a lot longer. So this is the tallest letter. It extends from the baseline all the way up to the second ascender and all the way down to the second descender. Okay, so again, baseline, header line, first ascender, second ascender, first ascender, first descender. So it is 5 spaces tall. It is a very large movement, and it's the universal line of beauty shape ending with a descending stem loop. So we're going to start up here, curve in, make this swell, and then when you get to the bottom, curve around, ending with the descending stem loop shape, continue through, and then finish with the same shape that you make for the eye. So that comes out and to the left, down to the header line, and then finish with the shade on the right, or you can continue through. So this is a hard shape to make. I noticed when I made it, I kind of did the S motion where I went to the left and then to the right, rather than making this part straight. So I'm going to try to make that a little straighter this time. The hardest part is knowing when to release the pressure and start turning back around. So this is a pretty big stroke, and you want to make sure you're coming out and to the left so you can come back up. And then again, you can make this part have a loop if you want. You can also continue this line through and connect it through. Same with the eye, if you wanted to do that, you could continue it through. Alright, so that is the letter J. You want the width of this part can be a little bit wider than the loop on the bottom. Just a little bit. I wouldn't make it too wide. You want it to be approximately lined up so that it doesn't look top heavy. Alright, so these are all of the capital letters. And I recommend that you practice the individual stems, so the 4 stems that we covered, and all of the entry elements. And then practice them in groups, because then you'll like when you practice this shape of the I, you want it to be consistent and the same as the J, so you want to practice them at the same time. Same with the letters like B and R and P. You want all of those to look the same at the top. And so if you practice them together, then you're kind of killing two birds with one stone, practicing multiple letters at once, and making sure that you are being consistent and using the same technique.